Hello, friends. The 721st day of the war between Russia and Ukraine continues. This morning, Ukrainian telegram channels began reporting about the defeat of the Russian ship. Later, the General Staff officially announced the destruction of the large landing ship Caesar Kunikov in the Sea near Avdiivka. The command of the Ukrainian naval forces said that the large landing ship was destroyed in cooperation with the main intelligence directorate. Maguta naval drones were used to carry out the strike. Caesar Kunikov received critical holes on the port side and began to sink. I note that the Ukrainian armed forces announced the defeat of Caesar Kunikov back in March 2022. It was alleged that he was shot down by Tushkoyu in the port of Berdyansk. But as we see, he did not drown then. By the way, the real Caesar Kunikov, a Soviet officer who fought in World War II, also died on February 14 near Crimea. The situation in Avdiivka remains critical. The Russians cut the main road in Avdiivka, which connects the city with the coke plant and leads to the west. Yesterday, the Ukrainian military telegram channel Deep State reported that on February 10 to 11, the Russian army, taking advantage of the fact that the fog covered Avdiivka and the surrounding area, began assault operations in many places. There was a saturation of personnel, and one Russian combat vehicle almost reached Industrial Avenue. Yesterday, the Russians significantly increased pressure and began to push through the area of dachas and car depots. Thus, they managed to cut the route, which was already dangerous to use, the report said. Deep State wrote that the situation in Avdiivka is getting worse every day. Logistics are completely under the fire control of the Russian army, as a result of which arrival and departure to the city is a lottery. Decisions should be made that, first of all, will preserve the most valuable thing, the lives of fighters, and not turn Avdiivka into another fortress with songs and poems, Deep State wrote yesterday, actually making it clear in plain text that the command of the Ukrainian armed forces should give order for the withdrawal of Ukrainian troops from the southern part of Avdiivka. Today, the speaker of the Tavria group, Likovy, said that in Avdiivka, backup supply routes are provided in case of loss of the main one. According to him, street fighting has been going on in the city for several days, and the situation dictates a certain change in combat tactics. The situation is tense but under control. He says that holding Avdiivka is extremely important, like every Ukrainian city, because other settlements will follow. But at the same time, he says that no one is holding on to heaps of stones and charred iron, and the main thing for the command is to save the lives of the soldiers, and if the situation becomes more complicated, to take them to another line. The telegram channel of the 46th Brigade reports today that rotational stabilizing measures have begun in Avdiivka. According to them, the situation was improved, if not saved, by the arrival of units of the 3rd Separate Assault Brigade, which immediately entered the battle and generally stabilized the situation in the area south of the Avdiivka coke plant, and now almost independently hold the northern face of the 4-kilometer-long corridor through which stabilization measures will be carried out. Still, someone smart was found at the top, and a movement began from the private sector in the southeast towards the 9th quarter, around which the entire logistics of Avdiivka now rests, writes the telegram channel. But they were literally a day and a half late. Most of the tactical units are now in a pocket east of the city center, and units of the 3rd Separate Assault Brigade are practically responsible for the maintenance of its neck. The enemy was able to physically cut the Avdiivka-Lastichkini highway, reaching Industrial Avenue, and reduce the possibilities by exactly half for logistics and withdrawal. Only the primars to Yevhenii remain, which will hold out exactly as long as the 9th quarter lasts. At the same time, the routes themselves are under enemy artillery and drone control, which will add additional difficulties, taking into account the fact that enemy aircraft yesterday unloaded almost everything onto 9th quarter. They also understand the entire situation, described above well. At the same time, the Bakhmut experience is completely ignored when, despite the complexity of the situation, the withdrawal of units was carried out quite elastically and gradually. For comparison, the width of the neck of the bag in Bakhmut until the end of the defense and in Avdiivka now the same, 4 kilometers. But in Bakhmut it was formed as such only at the time of its release. And in Avdiivka there are now 5 kilometers from the neck to the combat line of the bottom of the bag, with troops inside, writes the Telegram channel of the 46th Brigade of the Armed Forces of Ukraine. Meanwhile, today the enemy continues to advance in Avdiivka. The main impact remains in the northern part of the city. The Russians are advancing with a significant number of manpower, accompanied by dozens of aerial bombs, which simply erased the city and the positions of our fighters. In the northern part of Avdiivka, Russian troops are pressing west of the western dachas, south of Silhosptaniki Street, and along Sopronova and Nezalezhnosti streets. According to Ukrainian experts, the enemy's advance is recorded in an area up to 1 kilometer wide and to a depth of up to 600 meters. Northeast and east of Avdiivka, the enemy continues to try to improve the tactical position in the direction of the fortified Zenit area. This bypass of Zenit creates the risk of complete encirclement. To summarize, no positive dynamics are observed. The coming days will be decisive for the defense of Avdiivka. The enemy is pulling everything they can into the city and will not take into account any losses. Friends, preparing these daily reports has become my full-time job, and I have no other job for obvious reasons. There have been few views on the channel lately, which is why I ask for your help. If you have the opportunity to support me financially, I would be very grateful. Thank you very much and see you in the next video.